man, listen, come on, man. You already know I know.
Okay.
Can you remind us we're on television
Ask
right
me
now?
why I wore the Dallas.
Listen. You know how people is, man, with all that going on with the picture?
Yeah.
And all that stuff like that.
Okay.
Man, I ain't never been on that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's good enough. Yeah. Julio, I'll talk to you later. Thanks for calling me back. We on air, but I appreciate you calling me, dog. You know I know my nephew was gonna pick up.
Oh yeah, nah. Yeah, I ain't going to Dallas, man. I never thought about going to Dallas.
Okay. I appreciate that, bro. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, so we have that, and then Arthur Smith was asked about what the Julio Jones, which is becoming a saga now, and this is what Arthur Smith had to say about the wide receiver that he's probably not going to get to coach.
They should speak for themselves. And so I'm not going to comment. It doesn't change anything for us. I mean, we understand what our plan is moving forward. And we have, like I said, we have multiple private conversations with our players. Those are conversations that are going to remain private on my end.
There you go. So it's kind of where we are with the Julio Jones saga. I don't know where he's going to end up. It could be with the Patriots. Could be with anyone, to be honest with you. The Titans might be in the mix. But apparently it's going to take a first-round pick or a second-round pick to get him. And are you willing to give that up for a guy who's 33 years old? I don't know. 30, that's kind of the end of the road there for an NFL wide receiver, but we shall see how that works out for him. All right, so we'll take calls on Aaron Rodgers. We'll take calls on Julio Jones. And now I've got something that I think is going to be funny. There's a budding rivalry in golf right now with Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau, and these two guys just don't like each other. I'm going to play you a clip from an unaired interview with the Golf Channel where that's kind of hit the social media folks all over the place, and Koepka is discussing his round. Now, I had to edit this a little bit because there's things that he said that we can't really play on the radio. But what happened is he's doing his interview, and Bryson DeChambeau, you can hear, walks past him, and it's almost sounds like it's going to be like a WWE event. But check this out. The comments from Brooks Koepka in this interview that just didn't air on the Golf Channel.
A lot from you today, Brooks. What were you able to do well and put up that nice number?
Just ball struck my way around this place. Didn't putt well, but I don't think many guys are going to putt well with this wind. It's very tough. Like I said, I don't know what other guys have said, or I just felt it difficult to read. You know, sometimes I lost my train of thought. Yeah, hearing that.
All right, we're starting over.
So Brooks Koepka is upset there because Bryson DeChambeau walked past him with his spikes hitting the ground. Now, of course, DeChambeau puts out a couple of things. One's on Instagram, like later on, where he's lifting weights, saying he can't stop and he won't stop, and then actually commenting on an Instagram story about it, saying, "Hey, you know that you can fix the spike marks right now." I'm all for this. Look, golf has been, and Phil Mickelson winning at 52, by the way. You talk about something that really helped golf a lot. Golf this weekend was on fire with that because the older crowd was trying to tune in to see, could Phil do it? Could you, at 50 years old, win the PGA Championship? And Phil did it. Now, for a long time, there were people that just watched golf just to watch Tiger Woods play. Oh, my goodness, what is Tiger Woods going to do? Even though, in the last Ryder Cup, I had the same amount of points that Tiger Woods had, Tiger Woods has fallen off the planet. I mean, he's a good player, but he's not the way that he was. But people would still watch Tiger Woods just to see him, go and finish, 20th in a tournament. Okay? Having a broader base of things to the table makes golf just better. Going into something, man, if you know that you can watch and see if Phil Mickelson can do at 50 what he did, then you've got this rivalry between DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, where Those two just don't like each other. Rivalries make sports, ladies and gentlemen. That's just the way that it is. You could talk about rivalries from the past. You could talk about so we're in the middle of the NBA postseason here. The Bulls and Pistons, the Lakers and Celtics. I mean, you can go up and down the dial. If you're a Braves fan, you remember when the Braves were in the NL West and they were constantly challenging the Dodgers. And it was the Dodgers and the Giants and everything else. Now, to a lesser extent, it's the Braves and the Nationals. Whatever. Rivalries build sports. And having something like this, which may end up being something that's built up more than it actually is, I think is absolutely great for the game of golf. And it makes me want to watch more golf because I want to see what DeChambeau and Koepka say to each other. Now, if I'm the guy that's putting together the golf tournament, their next time that they're out and about, I put them together. Make them play together. Why not? I'm not trying to get people to, try to scrap with each other, but if you're going to have some competition there, why not have them play together? That would be the absolute best thing ever. So I was really happy with the whole, with everything that went on the golf front with that. By the way, the 2021 U.S. Open is June 17th through 20th. Those two need to be teed up to play together. Rivalries make sports, ladies and gentlemen. We could talk about that today, too. I think that certain rivalries brought me into sports. I can think of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and watching them as a kid. The Bulls and Pistons, watching them. And, of course, I mentioned the Braves. But you got the Red Sox and the Yankees. That's something that people just watch that, too. You'll watch a Yankees-Red Sox game even if you're not a fan. And I guess it comes back to, and I feel the same way about going into another arena here, the professional wrestling world. I love professional wrestling stuff. People that believe that professional wrestling is real and it's not just guys that are out there doing ballet stuff together, that's the stuff that draws people in and makes money, etc. Feel the same way about this stuff. Give me more of DeChambeau and Koepka sparring back and forth at each other. Let them have at it on Twitter, too. That will make a lot of sense. Alan says he's my rival over there on YouTube. Thanks, Alan. Appreciate that. By the way, the show is not on Facebook today because I am in Facebook jail because I said that we should set someone on fire as a joke. Apparently, Facebook doesn't understand sarcasm. So I'm in Facebook jail. What a mess. Anyway, it's an absolute mess with all of that.
Your music award goes to
the Chalupa Cravings Box is an abundant collection of tacos.
To reset my stuff there. Hope you guys are doing well over there today. Facebook is turning into insanity, man. Can't post anything on Facebook now. It's ridiculous. How many people have been to Facebook jail? I'm a Facebook convict. I feel terrible about it. All I said was we should set someone on fire. It wasn't like I was thinking we should really set somebody on fire. I just, you know. Anyway. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me today. I was looking at some of the biggest, I guess it would be sports upsets, but then also embarrassing losses for teams. And by the way, we're going to keep you updated with the South Carolina game and the Clemson game as the tournaments are underway. By the way, Coastal Carolina today, they won by a touchdown or 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion over Arkansas Little Rock in the first round of their tournament down in Montgomery. So big win for them. Also in the SEC tournament today, number 13 seed Florida wins over Kentucky 4-1. So Kentucky has been eliminated. So there's that. In the ACC, Clemson loses game 1 of their opening round in pool play, which means that the Tigers are not going to make the NCAA tournament. It's just not going to happen. They lose 15-10 in a game that was basically batting practice up in Charlotte. Not what you want as far as Clemson goes there. Other matchups today, Virginia Tech will play Virginia at 3:30. Pitt and North Carolina will have first pitch for that game is at 7:00. Did he give you the other scores here? I mentioned the Gamecocks. They are playing right now. Alabama leads the Gamecocks 1-0 in game 2 out in Hoover. And if the Gamecocks want to advance into the double elimination portion of the tournament, they need to figure out how to beat the Crimson Tide here. 5:30 today, LSU plays Georgia. That's another knockout game, followed by Auburn and Ole Miss at 9:00 tonight. In the Sun Belt, Coastal Carolina wins over Arkansas Little Rock 15-1. That's what we talked about earlier. So we'll keep you up to date with those games. Now, I'm looking at some of the more embarrassing losses that are out there. And I'm talking about games where you are heavily favored and you end up just getting popped. Now, there are matchups that you can think about. You think about the Miracle on Ice, where the USSR lost to Team USA, basically a bunch of kids. You've seen that story several times. Imagine being a fan of the USSR and that thinking, oh, we're just going to roll through, and then not so much. Some of the other ones that are on the list here, Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson. I remember that it's like, how did that happen? Of course, we find out later on that Mike Tyson has gonorrhea. That's not a joke. And he went over there to Tokyo and didn't really pay much attention to it. He was a 42-1 favorite in that matchup. Didn't work out well for him. Let's go out to the phones, and we'll welcome you in 803-978-1832. And let's go to the phones here. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rundown.
Hey, Rob, I got a question for you.
Sure.
I was just in D.C. this past weekend, went up there, and we watched a hockey game. That's about maybe 2,000 people in it. Do you think the crowds are going to come back to pro sports after the COVID like they were before, or do you think people kind of says, well, maybe I don't need to go to it anymore?
Well, I think we had a downturn before COVID happened, and I remember talking on the show about especially why would you, especially in the South Carolina heat, why would you go to a game at Williams-Brice, Death Valley, or whatever against a team that South Carolina or Clemson are going to beat stupid, and there's a chance you might get a heat stroke at the end of August? I think a lot of people check out. Now, of course, the universities will lie because that's what they do, and they'll tell us, oh, those were sellout games, when they weren't. They're at about 60 to 80% capacity. But, the idea of people not going back because of COVID-19, you think that's what's going to keep them away, or just that they become conditioned?
Do you think people have just turned a blind eye to especially the pro sports?
I think that
NBA.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, the idea of, especially where athletes are, well, it's a two-pronged problem. I think a lot of people don't want to hear the politics of some of the professional athletes that are out there. They just don't want to hear it. And I think there's a section of people that aren't going to they're not going to pay to go and see games. Now, the NFL had record numbers, even though there's a section of people that said they'll never watch an NFL game again. The TV numbers say that they'll watch, but they may not show up. As far as baseball is a game where I think that the younger generation doesn't play, and it's just too slow for them. And in the age of Snapchat and TikTok and everything else, it's just too slow. So
it seems like the MMA they just got right back into it. The crowd, it was that we watched.
I completely agree with you. That's because Dana White basically said, okay, I'm going to build an island and we're still going to have my fights. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that it's the same. But let's be honest about this too. When you watch an MMA fight, they'll have 18,000 people there. That's about the average, I guess. But in reality, most people, it's like a pay-per-view event. They're going to watch it at home. And Dana White's more than happy to levy that into more money for the UFC. But we have to step back. And I think we talked about this the other day and thank people like Dana White and Vince McMahon and guys like that were point blank. We're still going to put our product out there. So, yeah. But as far as people just going back out there with the NBA, I think that I'm going to watch the playoffs. I'm a Phoenix Suns fan, so I'm going to watch tonight and hope that they can beat out LeBron James and his flopping self. So I'm all happy about that. But I think the idea of people going back to games like that, they're going to have to get creative with what they do.
Well, you said something about Vince McMahon and the WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even look like they're in any kind of hurry to come back to a live crowd. My neighbor's going crazy because he loves to go see it.
Well, they did say last night they're going to start in July. They're going to go back to doing the live tour and everything else. But they have their own way of doing it, and I'm not going to sit here and question what Vince McMahon's going to do. But they had sporting event. I mean, the first couple of events were basically the WWE and of course the UFC, and then golf did their thing where they played with nobody out there. And I think those sports picked up people, to be honest with you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I kind of agree with the caller that there may be a section of folks that just aren't going to care anymore. Jerome says, except for Jake Paul, they're scared of a YouTuber. Let's put this out there about Jake Paul from YouTube. Jake Paul is a bum. If he gets into a UFC fight with anyone, he would die. Ronda Rousey would beat him into submission right now, and she's pregnant. This guy is a complete idiot. He's out there and he's fighting these people and putting sanctions on the kind of matches they have. Here's what you do. Why don't you I don't even know what weight class he's in. If he's a heavyweight, let's put him in with Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis will knock him out in 60 seconds. 60 seconds. Guarantee it. This guy is a bum that just goes on YouTube and decides he wants to fight people. Nobody's scared of that guy. I guarantee you, real fighters are not scared of him. I mean, seriously, he's fighting basically people that no one cares about. If he gets into an octagon or an actual boxing ring with someone that's worth a salt, he will get knocked out, which is what he wants, by the way. That's what he wants. He wants to get knocked out and have that, and have that YouTube moment forever. So there was talking maybe fighting. I don't even know who his next fight is with. If he's fighting Floyd Mayweather is an old man now, but Floyd Mayweather would knock him out. Jerome says you could say that for Mayweather, who picks and chooses his matches. You're absolutely right. But Floyd Mayweather is a much better fighter than Jake Paul will ever dream of being. Floyd Mayweather would win that fight. He'd carry him for a couple of rounds so people didn't think he was stealing money. But yeah. But then once again, people, fighters and stuff like that on YouTube, they're coming up because people they have a thirst for that content. And, this guy, he filled an area where, people needed it. So anyway, we'll take calls on that. Will you go to an actual sporting event? I think the college football stuff, I think that's going to happen. People are going to light up college football arenas or college football stadiums, and especially in the South. Now, as far as up north, I don't know how the NFL is going to do. I really don't. I think there's also a section of folks where you're almost priced out of going to a game. If you go to a Panthers game, it's what, $50 to park, I think, is what I read. I'm just saying. Jerome says he thinks he deserves a chance. I know he seems like a punk, but he thinks he might have talent. Well, how do you evaluate that talent? I'm just saying. I mean, what about the people that are actually ranked boxers or ranked MMA fighters? They should be pushed to the back of the line so this guy could say, hey, I'm on YouTube and I've had a couple of fights against people that what have you, and I should be put into the mix. I'm not buying that at all. I'd like to see him. I mean, I got to remember what weight class he's at. I'm going to look that up because I can guarantee you Amanda Nunes would knock him out. If he went to an MMA fight with Amanda Nunes right now, she would knock him out and snap his arm off for him and hand it to him. I believe that. I truly do. Anyway, we can talk about that when we come back. If you're listening to the rundown, this is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Are you really in the Jake Paul camp there, buddy? Come on, Jerome. I can tell you what camp I'm not in. I have to finish this vaccine cycle because I can. I mean, I have to do it now, but I wouldn't have gotten my first one if I knew it was going to make me this miserable. My goodness. I'm not a campaign for the vaccine right now. It's terrible. Don't want to be. Oh man, didn't bother me at all. What doesn't bother you? Oh well, it got me, James. I ain't gonna lie to you, brother. You're right about that. I don't look, man. All I know is I was healthy. I went and got my vaccine, and I've had like a vicious head cold ever since. I don't know. Maybe it was actually going into the the place to get the vaccine. Maybe that was part of it. So I went and got in the steam room, right? Thinking that would help break it up. I sit in the steam room and I come out and I go to towel my face off and it's just like, it's just seeping everywhere. It's like, what is this? It sucks. Oh man. No, I didn't get, my arm's not sore, James. You're a better person than I am, James. I'm just saying, brother. Maybe it's just me. You're a tougher guy than I am, James. What a mess. It's a crappy time to have a cold, too, by the way. My birthday's Sunday, and like normally I do something cool every year for my birthday, and this year I'm just like, I just want to sleep. That's pretty much all I want to do is sleep. You're a better person than I am, James. I don't have a problem admitting that. I do a steam room. I don't do the sauna, man. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. We were talking about before the break. Caller said, do you think people are going to go back to stadiums? I think it's going to be leveled out where college games people will go. I think that for the pro games, probably not so much. Probably not so much. Scoreboard update for you. South Carolina is losing in the top of the fourth inning to Alabama 6-0. That is an elimination matchup out in Hoover. If the Gamecocks lose, they don't get to go 2 in barbecue. It's just one and done. I mean, do you get a hot dog? I mean, what do you get if you lose just one game in Hoover? I don't know. Coastal Carolina won earlier today. Clemson, they lose to Louisville. And from what I gather, that pretty much knocks them out of the ACC tournament. They'll play their final matchup of the season tomorrow against Georgia Tech. Tigers will finish the season, 23-20. Right now they're 23-26 or something like that. So I don't know. Disappointing year for Clemson. Caden Grice hit a couple of home runs today. Maybe that's something that you can look forward to tomorrow. But heading into next season, there's a lot of pieces that are gone. Kier Meredith is gone. Sam Hall is gone. I mean, you lose some guys like that. Just not what you want at Clemson right now. And a season that is terrible for Clemson. James said, should Monty Lee be fired? Look, I don't like calling for people's jobs like that, but Monty Lee hasn't done anything that's made him look bad as a Clemson coach. He hasn't come out and did some of the stuff that like Will Muschamp did, where he just seemed combative and he blamed officials and anything else like that. So he hasn't done anything to, I think, hurt the brand except for having this season, which has been really bad. I don't know if it's at a point now where it's like, hey, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of the guy. But wow. What used to be, I mean, every season Clemson goes to the tournament, it seems like. This is their first losing season since I think 1957. Wrap your head around that for a second. Since 1957, Clemson's had a winning baseball season, and now they don't. And is this something you could just dust off and keep moving? And by the way, just to, the majority of the sports up there at Clemson, the big revenue sports or the big visual sports, let's put it that way, Your softball team finished the season, 42-7, 43-7, something like that. Valerie Cagle was everybody's sweetheart down in Alabama. The Alabama faithful from the number 3 team in the country are giving her a standing ovation. You just have what's going on with Clemson as far as their football team with Trevor Lawrence and, all of that. Basketball team just made the NCAA tournament. Trust me, people are looking across. What the hell's going on with the baseball team? That's going to be there. I don't think they're going to fire Monty Lee, but I think that something has to happen here as far as they need to have that old conversation with him. Like, if we have another season like this, then yeah. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown, here on Fox Sports Radio 1400, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. As I said, Gamecocks getting popped here by Alabama 6-0. They will not they'll have their issues if they drop that game. Let's see how that happens. So they lose that, they'll head home. The idea of hosting a regional then is kind of out the window. We were talking a little bit about during the break about the fact that I've been sick since I got my first vaccine. I got the vaccine. What's today? I got the vaccine on the 15th. Yeah, I've been sick ever since. I had like 10 days of just running around with like my head having a huge head cold and sucks. Someone online says maybe pollen. I hope it is. You know what? I might take some Allegra. Like, see if that'll help clear it up. But man, I just feel my voice is killing me there too. All right, when we come back, our final segment, we'll talk about the most embarrassing losses that you've been to. I've got a list of them here that are SEC embarrassing losses, and I've got some from the ACC too. So we'll get into that when we come back here on the Rundown. By the way, there will be no show for me on Friday or Monday. We're taking off a couple of days for the Memorial Day holiday. So if you're looking for the show, it will not be here on Friday or Monday. But we'll be back at it. We'll do a show on obviously tomorrow and Thursday, and then be back at you here on Tuesday. All right, so quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show here on the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. I think that the guys that were coming in, was Bubba Chandler? I think he was gonna, if he signed, he was gonna play football and baseball. I think Dabo's done that in the past, if I remember correctly. I think the era of the two-sport athlete is kind of out the window right now, man. I really do. It's not embarrassing, Brandon. Your team's going to be called on Monday. It's not embarrassing at all. What's embarrassing is what's happened to Clemson. They got to play Georgia Tech tomorrow with nothing to play for. That's what's embarrassing. Is it really 8-0 now, Brandon? My God. I guess I could turn the game on up here. I don't think there's a lot of people that like Coach Kingston anyway, to be honest with you. I've told you guys about the story about some of the a couple of junior college coaches told me that He's an analytics guy that doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't think it's that far-fetched. I mean, the Gamecocks they have talent down there. It's not like they're lacking in talent. You got freaking Paul Bunyan down there. You can't do better than getting smoked 8-0.
A grand in your hand. $1,000 12 times a day. Listen to win a cool grand. Weekdays from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. on Fox Sports Radio 1400.
Final segment of the rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. The chat room's upset. Gamecocks are down 8-0 to Alabama. Brandon says that's embarrassing. Not as embarrassing as the Clemson baseball team. Go up and lose home run derby to Louisville. Then, hey, you got to play Georgia Tech tomorrow and then, take your ass home. That's pretty much what the Clemson season is now. Lose home run derby, play Georgia Tech tomorrow. What are you playing for tomorrow? Nothing? Yeah, just politely get out of here. That's basically what it is up in Charlotte. Caden Grice had a good day, though, hitting a couple of homers. He had 6 homers this year against Louisville when the 3-game sweep that Clemson had. And then all of a sudden they lose 3 to Georgia Tech, lose 3 to Duke. Not a good way to end the season. Jerome says, pathetic. Kingston's going to be interesting this summer. We don't want to end up like Georgia. All that talent and no results. That's a good point. Don't be like the Georgia football program. Don't have a lot of talent and then not win anything. That's UGAing it up. That's what that is. Somebody should put that on a t-shirt. Don't UGA it up. Don't have a lot of talent and not win. No one wants that. Anyway, I was thinking, I was looking through some of this, and I found there was an article about the 10 most embarrassing non-conference losses of the playoff era for the SEC. Some of these are really interesting. I thought I'd run through some of these, and then there's a couple other that I remember. We'll start with the ACC. I remember Clemson. This wasn't a conference, non-conference loss. Excuse me. Yeah, it was a conference loss that Clemson went to Duke and lost at Duke. And this is when Duke was really bad, like 1-11 type Duke. They lost on like a 50-yard field goal as time expired. Thanks to Tommy Bowden for that, right? Anyway, I remember that game. But some of these other games that are on the list, number 10, they've got App State in South Carolina from 2019. A Will Muschamp era thing there where I think they were just trying to finish out the season, to be honest with you. You've also got UNLV winning over Vanderbilt 34-10 in 2019. That's, winning by 3 touchdowns at Vanderbilt. That's tough, man. San Jose State winning over Arkansas. Here's the crazy thing about that. They pick off Nick Starkel 5 times. Arkansas was a 20-point favorite, and they lost to a team who'd never beaten an SEC opponent and hadn't beaten a Power 5 opponent in 13 years. So that was interesting, too. You've also got Indiana winning over Mizzou. Mizzou was ranked 18th in the country at that point. That was in 2014. That loss made no sense. Brandon says that wasn't a bad App State team, though. They finished ranked in the top 25. That's a good point. But if I'm putting SEC talent against teams from what conference does Appalachian State play in then? I think that the SEC team should possibly win. They've got UCLA winning over Texas A&M. I don't know about that. That doesn't seem too far-fetched. South Alabama winning over Mississippi State in 2016. Western Kentucky winning over Arkansas in 2019, 45-19. Man, Arkansas had some disaster things happen to them there. South Carolina makes the list again. The Citadel matchup in 2015. Someone was telling me a while back that they were still upset. Pharaoh Cooper had a 94-yard touchdown run. They said it was called back after a false start. They said that should have been allowed to go. What a mess that was. Then you have this one I remember. Troy winning at LSU 24-21. LSU doesn't lose very many games in down there in the Bayou, but nobody outside of the SEC had won in Baton Rouge in 17 years. Their non-conference home winning streak was at 49 games, and they lose to Troy. And then finally, last year's matchup for Tennessee, as Georgia State comes in to, or I say 2019's matchup with Tennessee. They were a 24.5-point underdog, and Sean Elliott and the guys went in and got $950,000 to slap around Tennessee and win 38-30. The game seemed close, but remember, Tennessee got a touchdown with 2 seconds left to make it 38-30. They were down 38-23 to Georgia State. That is not good. Brandon says some may not remember this, but Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe in his first year at Alabama. Yeah, I remember that. That's definitely there too, but we're talking from the playoff era. That was a horrible loss. You remember the loss down at Florida with Will Muschamp and Georgia Southern, where Georgia Southern did not complete a pass, and they beat the Florida Gators in Gainesville. Man, I tell you what, people that went to that game, they were not happy. Florida wasn't very that good that year anyway, but they were thinking, you know what? We're going to have an opportunity to possibly get into a bowl if we can win this game. And what happens? Georgia Southern beats them without throwing a pass. Man, that's an embarrassing loss right there. I think tomorrow on the rundown, we're going to do biggest upsets of all time. I've done some stuff on that. I mentioned Mike Tyson. That's probably one of the biggest. Losing to Buster Douglas. Now, none of us knew that Tyson had gonorrhea and was really, really hurting. But yeah, we may do that tomorrow on the rundown. I think that's what we'll do. The Citadel had Alabama tied a few years back in the first half. Yeah, that's true. But Alabama turned the Jets on. By the way, final thing, Brian Harsin today was asked about TJ Finley transferring in. Like everybody else, guys compete. The quarterback room is about toughness. It's about preparation, about decision-making. It's about accuracy. You want to have the ultimate competitors in that room, and it really starts with themselves. What that says to me is, Bo Nix is not my guy. That's exactly what that says to me. Remember, Aaron Rodgers is trying to leave the Packers because they drafted a guy to replace him, and he's 37. How do you think Bo Nix feels down in Auburn? You're bringing in this guy that was, by the way, Alabama wanted him. I mean, he was at LSU. We'll see how that works out. What a mess that is. 8-2, Alabama in the 5th inning. Clemson's already lost today. Coastal Carolina's won today. Got all that wrapped up for you. So tomorrow we may look back on the Gamecock season here to see if they lose today, they're definitely not hosting. Maybe they'll come back. If so, we'll preview that. We'll put a wrap on the Clemson season tomorrow. As right now, it's just a mess. It's the best way to determine it, to be honest with you. Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next. He is the czar of Clemson Sports.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
Follow him on Twitter. He's at Clemson Sports. I'm sure he'll have plenty of stuff about that. When DeMarcus Mayer and O.C. Umanjoma, I can't pronounce that, was at Troy, they beat someone good, but that was before the playoffs. Yeah, I have a hard time with those names too. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. We'll be back at it tomorrow here on The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400.